Hey guys, how's it going? I'm at Lighty, and today we're talking about my character in my 2-week hardcore mayhem race, Max Block Sunder, or EQ. You can pick it whatever you want. So this character is Max Block. What that means is my block chance is capped, basically. I get to 78% block chance, and that's because of the anvil puts you 3% over. Normally block cap is 75% chance, and that's with normal attacks and spells. I'm a Gladiator, which is a duelist. The tree's pretty straightforward. Like, this is the tree I'm using. There's a couple key uniques that we're going to go over in a second. But essentially, your RT build, meaning resolute technique, so your hits can't be evaded. You just don't miss, ever. And you just kind of, like, sit there and you tank everything and you just hold down right click. It's a pretty simple playstyle. And because you're a duelist, you choose Gladiator, which gives you the versatile combatant, which just means 100% of your block chance is applied to spell. So you don't have to worry about spell block at all. It just comes strictly from this. So this should be how this build plays and feels and playstyle, and you can decide for yourself if you enjoy it to a degree. So you can see everything's kind of blowing up, and it's auto-targeting most things. That's because that's how multi-strike works. So the way multi-strike is that it's letting your attacks pretty much attack multiple times per second. Just like the wording says, they repeat themselves 2 additional times. And because they're repeating, they're actually automatically targeting things. That's why your left hand could not even be in the keyboard. You can just walk around holding a right click. Now you have 2 other abilities you're doing aside from just sundering and if you want to move, shield charging. And that's Blood Rage, which gives you frenzy charges, life leech, and attack speed, which is everything you want pretty much. And this will refresh itself when you kill something, so that will just stay up automatically. The second one is Tempest Shield, which gives you block chance, and every now and then when you do block, it shoots out lightning, which that damage actually does add up, okay? And this again refreshes itself when you do block. So if you're mapping and you push, have them both active, you don't have to really ever refresh them again. Maybe during a boss fight, maybe. The reason that my skills are grayed out and my mana is at 0 but I can still attack is because we use the weapon Soul Taker. This just says insufficient mana does not prevent your melee attack. This means your melee attacks or anything that is a melee attack is free. Now shield charge, although it's a movement skill, it is a melee attack. It has the tags attack and melee, so it's a melee attack. And we're using Sunder, which is in my opinion the best one. So everything else is pretty much passive, and what I mean by passive, we have a casting name taken set up with a Mortal Call and Molten Shell, but this would have to trigger when we get hit a lot. It's a total damage of 26,000. I'm going to level to level 20. You should eventually. This just means that if you do somehow get that one big hit taken, which really won't happen often, it'll prevent you from taking any extra damage. Now, our Fizz mitigation is 44, but it goes up to like 90 when we have everything going. Past that, we have Life Gain on Hit, Herald of Ash, Hatred. This is just giving us Fizz damage. And because both of these abilities, EQ and Sunder, we are stationary for, Arctic Armor works really well from us taking less damage and chilling things that we're sitting on. So if you do sit on the boss because we're dropping chilled ground, they're chilled as well. Past that, we got our Tempest Shield setup we have with Blood Magic. And increased duration blood rage. That just means because we're mana 0, we have to have our non-attack skills, which both Tempest Shield is not a melee attack, and there's Blood Rage have to be hooked up with Blood Magic so we can cast them off our life. Now, like I said, our tree is pretty simple. It's mostly just life, block chance, mana regen, and like the effective nodes. Iron Reflex is pretty good because it gives us more armor. Our chance to dodge is whatever, kind of. But the big thing on our Ascendancy tree, past the fact that this whole left side is just giving us block and spell block, is gratuitous violence. This makes our attacks have a chance to cause bleeding, and since we're attacking literally 10 times a second, pretty much everything we hit will be bleeding. And when they do die, they explode, dealing 10% of their maximum life. Now, the way that enemies' life is scaled in maps is really fucking high. So when I kill a magic mob or even a white mob at a pack and it blows up, it'll pretty much kill everything around it. And because it's blowing up, you can see the chunks of corpses on the ground around here. It means that there's no body left behind. So this shit can't be resurrected. This shit can't do on-death effects. This shit, can't be DD'd, for example. So if you really hate necromancers, which I do, this build is ideal for you. Or if you really hate fighting porcupines, this build is ideal for you. That's why you'll see when I hit a pack, it kind of like pops in that whole fucking thing. And then these necromancers just sit here with really nothing to res, which is great. Now for single target, like I said, I can just hold down right click and just kind of, it'll just automatically just target things. So it's super AFK chill build. We have the anvil, which is just the block item. It gives you a little bit reduced attack speed and cast. It's not really important though. The mana and life on block is nice. and the reflecting. It's just mostly the fact that it gives you 8% block chance, 3% additional block chance is the super nice part. If you have problems getting a good shield, which we'll go over in a second, you can corrupt the implicit to get 4% max block, but I honestly think that Frenzy Charge is the best one. All things considered, like if you can hit max block, Frenzy Charge is for sure the best case scenario. We have Ming's Heart. This gives us a ton of chaos res, some more fizz damage, and we lose a little bit of life. We lose, well, we're at 5,200, and we lose 200 life, which is really nothing, considering it gives us upwards of 60 chaos res. You know, and the one thing that max block builds are scared of is damage over time and chaos damage, right? So this gives, honestly, if you can run 2 Ming's Heart as this build, just do it, because it does give us 23, 25. It does also give us a little bit over 2,000 damage. And Reflect isn't an issue, by the way, since if you didn't know, you can actually block Reflect. So we're completely fine in that regard. And the shield is probably the hardest thing to get for sure. It's the Surrender. Now, the Surrender is the upgrade version of the Anticipation, which drops off of Ul Natal, which is the physical Preach Lord. So this thing, in this league, cost me in total upwards of 400 chaos in the shitty temp league that doesn't really is a void league. So in actual league, this thing could be more expensive, and it's quite desirable. Because of that, whenever I block, I gain a ton of armor. It has insanely high block chance for a base thing. It has some life on it. Level 30 Reckoning isn't really a big deal. We use Riposte and Reckoning no matter what. They're just counterattacks, means whenever you do block, they just like counter attack. Like it shoots out a little bit of a shield, a little bit of a sword, and that type of stuff. And this just applies curse and hit. So everything we're blocking in melee range of will be temp changed. But it also gives us life on block. Now we're blocking quite often and well, pretty much all the fucking time. So whenever we do block, if we ever were to take damage, which just wouldn't happen, you just kind of just go back to full because of life on block. I mean, if you want to see an example, I can just sit here, and despite me having vulnerability on me, I'm probably still going to net positive life. Now, vulnerability is making my Blood Rage do more. It's making him do more damage. But he's not going to be able to even fucking get through to me because of the way the build works. I can go take a shower and come back, and I'll still be alive, and he'll be slapping me. He'll probably just about die for the Tempest Shield and the counterattacks. And there you go. There's the counterattacks just going to kill him. So yeah, max block is super safe. And, you know, although it might not be the most fun build for you personally, a lot of people honestly find fun builds in Path, as in builds you're not going to die playing. No one really likes to die when mapping. So if you just want to play a build that you can, doesn't cost a whole lot to get going, since pretty much past those 3 uniques I named, it's all rares. You know, the Surrender isn't mandatory at all. You could make do with a rare shield. Past that, you just pretty much just want rares that have life and res. If possible, get int and dex. As you can see, I'm spec'd into 2 different int dex nodes, and even the one there. So it's you're pretty int and dex starved. So just try to get on rings and stuff. But really, you just want life, armor, res, attack speed. You know, like pretty much standard resolute technique stuff. Movement speed on boots is important because of the way that shield charge works. It kind of double dips off your move and off your attack speed. So if you wanted to try out EQ instead of Sunder, all you have to do is you're keeping added fire, you're keeping melee phase. You just have to change the colors a little bit. You're swapping out Sunder, multi-strike, and fast attacks just for Earthquake, less duration, and melee physical. And in both scenarios, if you did have a 6th link, I think you would just be increased AoE anyway. So you're pretty much fine on that regard. And EQ just, it's you know, it's just a slightly different playstyle. So you're just gonna, you know, you just charge forward and just EQ once, and it probably is gonna one-shot the pack anyway. Very similar to how this build works. Just for the flash to quickly go over, you pretty much just want like bleed, move speed, chill immunity, and then Lion's Roar is pretty nice just because it gives you a bunch of damage. So you know, if I just do this kind of thing, you could just see how it feels. It's just like a different playstyle, but essentially it's the same thing. Even for single target, it's about the same damage. Again, you're still just holding right click and walking towards the target. Shield charge, earthquake, shield charge, earthquake, shield charge, earthquake, shield charge, earthquake. I think it's just a little bit sloppier because the way I think Sunder just feels better at the moment. After all the AoE nerfs that a lot of the builds received, EQ kind of feels lackluster. So as far as like mapping progression goes, you don't have a ton of damage. You never really will. You can get stuff like Legacy Soul Taker and then just get a lot more flat fizz on gear and a lot more attack speed. And then you can get a lot of damage on jewel sockets if you'd like also. But you're never going to have amazing damage. You're not playing the build because it has amazing damage. It's max block. You're playing it because you want to be safe. So, yeah. This is the play style. It's kind of slow and it's like slow and steady wins the race. If you don't mind that, and you just want to play hardcore especially and don't want to die, or you just want to like get high level and softcore, establish your first character that can do pretty much all the content in the game and not die, this might be the build for you. So for sure one of them is going to die in a second, the one on the right, and this one's going to go enraged because of that. Because he's enraged, that he's like doing a lot more damage, and oh, there we go, there's the slap. Can't face tank at all. But yeah, that about wraps up Max Block as a Gladiator. Don't take unnecessary hits if you don't have to, obviously, because it really can trivialize every other content in the game. But yeah, I'm at Lighty, and I'll see you guys later. It's a great build for 3.0, by the way, Max Block. It's not really getting gutted at all. It's just staying just as good. So if you do want a league starter, it is pretty insane, honestly.